has like taken like so much of me away because I've been doing so good. You know, all I wanted was my kid's father's brother removed from my home because I shouldn't have to watch that boy. He's 16 years old. He's not in my care. So the father left my home. So I asked him to please take his brother out of my home, you know? And yeah, I did say, you know, if you don't get him out, you're going to regret it because I shouldn't have to take care of him.
We are about to watch a parole revocation hearing of a woman who has a long history of violating restraining orders, and she's now facing a parole revocation for doing just that. Lucky for her, she has, in my opinion, one of the best attorneys, public defenders, I should say, in all of the state of Connecticut. We'll unpack it with the details at the end.
Good morning, Attorney Robert Famigletti of the Public Defender's Parole Revocation Unit. Hello, Divona.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you again.
This is a revocation hearing to determine whether you have violated the conditions of your release. I will review and make findings of fact as to each of the charges against you. The state, not you, has the responsibility to prove the allegations by a preponderance of evidence, that is, the better or weightier evidence must establish that more probable than not the allegation is true. If I do not find that there is a preponderance of evidence to support a violation of one or more of the conditions of your parole, I will reinstate your parole, which means releasing you and placing you back on parole supervision. If I find that you have violated one or more of the conditions of your parole, I will consider whether or not your parole should be revoked. If I recommend revocation, I will make a recommendation as to an appropriate sanction. My recommendation will be given to a panel for a final decision. If the panel wishes to impose a sanction beyond my recommendation, a supplemental hearing will be provided to justify additional confinement. The testimony at today's hearing will be taken under oath. Ms. Johnson, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. First, I will read you your rights. Then we will review the parole violation charges that the state, your parole officer, is bringing against you. Then I will review and identify exhibits filed for the record. After considering all the evidence presented, I will announce my findings. If I find that you have violated one or more of your parole conditions, your attorney will then have the opportunity to speak to your background and history. Do you have any questions about the purpose or procedure before we begin?
Am I going to have a chance to talk myself?
You can at the end, if we think that it's necessary. We'll evaluate that after all the testimony and all the evidence is placed in, okay?
Yes, sir.
You have important rights at this hearing, which I will now review with you. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. You have the right to receive written notice of charges of violation. You have the right to review the evidence against you before the hearing. You have a right to submit evidence in support of your case. At this hearing, you have the right to call and examine voluntary witnesses and to cross-examine adverse witnesses. Do you understand these rights?
Yes.
We will now review the charges that the state your parole officer is bringing against you and the information underlying each charge. Charge 1, obedience to the law. On November 27th, 2023, you threatened your victim, who you were instructed not to harass nor threaten via court order protective order, several times via text message. Subsequently, the New London Police Department applied for a warrant for your arrest with the charges of criminal violation of a restraining order and harassment. Second, a judge signed a warrant on December 6, 2023 in support of those charges. The state has filed the following exhibits. Exhibit A, remand to custody order. Exhibit B, signed conditions of parole. Exhibit C, parole violation notice and rights. Exhibit D, parole violation report. Exhibit E, New London Police Report arrest warrant. Exhibit F, New London Police Report, New London Police Department case / incident report. And Exhibit G, State of Connecticut Judicial Branch website. Defense has provided Exhibit 1, list of parole accomplishments and future plans for parole reinstatement. Today, we have no witnesses. It is now the defense opportunity to call any witnesses, present evidence, and speak to any of the evidence submitted.
Yes. We have no comment as to the honorance of the evidence standard as there was pleaded the misdemeanor harassment. The second degree, she served for 30 days.
On charge 1, I find that you violated the obedience to the law condition based off of the evidence presented. Your conviction of harassment second on April 4th, 2024, as well as the evidence exhibits provided B, D, E, F, and G. This concludes the fact-finding portion of this hearing. Before I make my recommendation, the state will have, your attorney will have an opportunity to speak to your background and history.
Thank you. This was mere contact, alleged text messages regarding children. It's a policy case we see. She served the time. She was on special parole. There were no graduated interventions and sanctions. Her PO recommended release after disposition of the case. The case has been disposed. She's been held now since March 4th. She's 28 years of age, single, 4 children. She was raised by both grandmothers. She is single, and actually now she is 30 years of age. She has a very good support system comprised of her mother, father, her cousin, and her children. She was a full-time mother to these children and attended school. She completed a home health care program and is successfully completed and is due to walk across the stage in graduation in June of 2024. She entered a CDL program. She's been sober for nearly 6 years. She was on a maximum contact schedule with a good regularity of contact. She's not received any misconduct since her most recent release in June of 2022. She's been working from 3 a.m. to 10 a.m. Daily since she was at York Correctional in the kitchen. She wishes to be able to return to her independent residence on Sheriff Street in New London. She wishes to complete the CDL program, obtain employment, and reunite with her children. I don't see this as a serious allegation. Once again, they were mere contact text messages. There were no threats of any time. There's no violence of any matter. And that's why we see this as a policy case. She's been dealing with a mental health problem since she was 13 years old and medicated. She's been doing very well. We request that she be immediately released. We don't believe further incarceration is warranted, and she is ready, willing, and able to thrive in community again with the support of parole. Thank you for your time and consideration. Do you have anything to add?
I just really, with this time being in here, it kind of made me like more depressed in my mental, to the point where like they upward my medication for me because I was like really bugging, being away from my kids this long has like taken like so much of me away because I've been doing so good. All I wanted was my kid's father's brother removed from my home because I shouldn't have to watch that boy. He's 16 years old. He's not in my care. So the father left my home. So I asked him to please take his brother out of my home, and yeah, I did say, if you don't get him out, you're going to regret it because I shouldn't have to take care of him. I have my own kids I have custody of and taken care of. So this is why I'm in prison again behind it. I just want to go home to my kids. My daughter's sick. I just want to go home to the kids. It's taking a big toll on me. I have my job still at home. I'm about to walk across the stage, stuff I thought I would never be able to do. And I'm accomplishing it all on my own. I just want another chance to be home with my babies.
Thank you, ma'am.
For clarification purposes, on Exhibit F, the police report, there was a mention of you being evicted. I just wanted to make sure, is your home still, is that not true? Do you still have your apartment?
My apartment's still there. Parole can go check my apartment. The landlord is waiting for me. He was going to start an eviction because Raekwon is not on my lease, just me and my children. But my cousin that's in the meeting right now, we can't see. She has talked to my landlord, and he said if I do come home in June, he won't start the eviction. So as of now, there's no eviction. The rent is getting paid, and if I don't come home, he is going to start the eviction.
Thank you.
Anything further?
I have nothing further to add.
I recommend that your parole be revoked and re-parole on June 6, 2024, which is the same date as your parole board review, and an approximate 3-month period of confinement as a sanction. Ms. Johnson was in the community for 1 year and 8 months with no misconducts or violations. Ms. Johnson has received an additional conviction, which she has served in April 2024. I recommend the following conditions: domestic violence, No contact with co-defendants Henrik Lewis, Brianna Drayton, Raekwon Henderson. Also, no contact with Tremaine Dodell without the express permission of your PO. No contact with victim RW without the express permission of your parole officer. A general no contact with Priscilla Cavell. I am making a condition of halfway house placement in the event that you do need it, but it's not a requirement unless you need it.
It's a
Okay.
backup. It's a backup.
So say if like anything happens, I can go back to the mother and child halfway house.
Well, halfway house placement.
In other words, we're recommending that you go to your independent living. That's the
Okay.
recommendation. However, as a backup, should for whatever reason what you said about your home not be true, the hearing examiner didn't want you to have no net.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Or a net, excuse me.
And then no operation of a motor vehicle without the express permission of your parole officer. My
Okay.
findings and recommendations will be forwarded to the board. You will receive the official written decision from the board. The board may lessen the recommended sanction, let my recommended sanction stand, or impose a sanction longer than what I have recommended. If the board decides to impose a sanction longer than what I have recommended, then a supplemental hearing will be held. Before the hearing, the board will provide you with written notice documenting the specific reasons why they might want to exceed my recommendation. During the supplemental hearing, you have an opportunity to respond to those specific reasons while in front of a panel of the board. This concludes the revocation hearing, and I'm now going off record.
Thank you guys so much.
Okay, so June 6th, okay?
Thank you.
Call
Thank
me
you
if
so much.
they don't release you on June 6th, call me.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank
So
you
I
guys
hope I
so
don't
much.
hear from you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
Well, say what you will about that attorney. He takes every client, in my opinion, as if it's his only client. He's quite committed to him. So she's getting out. I mean, at the time of this hearing, which was 5/29, so it was next week. She was happy with those results, although I thought it was quite telling when it was her turn to describe what she did wrong. She's like, well, he needed him out of the house, and I said I was gonna what was the words that she said? I was gonna hurt him or kill him if he didn't take him. It's not my son. It's like, oh my gosh, that's what you say at your parole hearing. It's like, you're so these poor kids, imagine being that child and just the feeling of not just not feeling love, but just feeling, that those are the victims in this. I think that poor child, the whole thing, it's just, nothing about that hearing made me feel like I wanted to root for her, or that I liked her. I mean, yes, she was emotional and everything, but we're talking about a child, and you're throwing the child out of your house because you don't want to take care of him. And it's just, your actions have not only consequences, but it's a rippling effect. And I think it's just completely over her head. I mean, she still, even at this moment, thinks that she was not in the wrong. He was wronging her, and why should she have to take care of his child? And it's not her fault that she got mad and violated a protection order and threatened someone. It's like, and this is, so thank you, Richard, for the info. Her initial charge, what she's initially in for, goes back to 2013. A New London woman who was in custody for allegedly participating in the beating of a woman outside a local restaurant was arrested again Monday for threatening to kill another woman's family. Apparently, she likes to threaten to kill people. She was 19 at the time when she did this. So she was charged with second-degree threatening, second-degree breach of peace, second-degree harassment. On January 22nd, Groton Town Police were dispatched to a local resident, and Groton, Connecticut is actually the city where my mother grew up. Interesting tidbit. Dispatched to local residents. There are parts of Groton that are just beautiful. They have a submarine museum there, and they have still the submarine base. I know Richard is a submariner, so he's probably actually spent many times at that base. It's really cool. Really cool. So, say John, who previously threatened her in front of her. Okay. Town police were dispatched to local residents after a woman called them to say that Johnson, who had previously threatened her, was in front of her house, the Warren said. Police spoke to the victim, who said that Johnson called her on January 20th, saying that she was going to blast the victim. The Warren said Johnson claimed that the victim had kicked in her boyfriend's door. The victim told police that Johnson called again the following day and told her, "I'm going to kill your son." I wonder if this is the same. No. Yeah. The Warrens said that the victim said Johnson also left a voicemail saying that she was going to kill the victim's entire family. The victim also showed police her Facebook page where Johnson had posted a threat to kill her and the family because she had called police. The post read, in part, "I got a master plan to kill you." New London police arrested Johnson on Sunday for her alleged role in beating of a woman, both in the outside of the China House restaurant on Ocean Avenue. Police said January 18th that they responded to an active fight involving females. Police saw the silver sedan driving away on Spring Street as they stopped the vehicle. The driver of the car, the victim, was hysterical and had visible injuries to her face. Remember, this is the initial charge, what she was revoked on for. She might look all innocent and kind of, but look at what she did, and it's like, and also the inability to just control herself. Man, do you think it was a long enough sanction? So it was. I think she was locked up for about 3 months before she had this hearing. That's my understanding. The victim told police that a former friend, whom she identified as Johnson, had attacked her and stolen her phone and purse. The victim initially uncooperative, saying she did not want to arrest, just wanted her possessions back, the Warrens said. And they basically wanted to say that they believed she was so afraid of her that that's why she said that. And then she has another arrest in 2515. Then she's a violation of a protection order in 2019. And she was revoked. She has arrested in 2016, violation of a protection order. I mean, she's violates her protection order in 2018, criminal trespassing, which sounds like a protection order thing. I mean, she's got a long record. She just won't leave the people alone. And then finally, sentenced date was April 4th, 2024 for the harassment. So that was a month ago. So she didn't serve 3 months. But there you have it. I'd be terrified of her. Stay away. And thank you, Rich, for the info with that. I'll let you go.